Europe, Macron and England and Spain and the flunkies from Canada, you're accusing Israel of doing war crimes. War crimes. Let me tell you something, England. What you did with the mandate and what you did in keeping Jews trying to save themselves from the Holocaust during World War II, that's war crimes. England has a patent on war crimes. England killed many, many more, dozens, 2 dozen, 3 dozen times more the civilian deaths on Germany air raids using backwards planes that could barely fly. And you killed hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of German civilians in your war against Germany. And you attacked specifically civilian areas. You bombed civilian areas intentionally to break the will of the Germans. And you're accusing Israel of war crimes. The number of deaths of civilians versus military people was between 1.5 to 2 deaths, 2 civilian deaths for every militant, maybe even less. It's the lowest level of civilian deaths per death of a militant in the history of warfare. And you're accusing Israel of war crimes. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to declare a Palestinian state. And we're supposed to accept it. Israel's supposed to accept a Palestinian state that has in its constitution the elimination of Israel. Ain't no way Israel's going to accept that. And in fact, where they're sitting on is stolen land, stolen from Jews. Hebron was a Jewish city, occupied, lived in by Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jews lived there for 1,500 years till they were expelled by the Romans. And there were still Jews living there until recently. Till 1929, they murdered 69 people, raped and pillaged, brutalized hundreds of others, and the Jews had to leave Hebron. Hebron, which is the city of the forefathers of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's our land, recorded in the Torah, though we paid for it. We didn't just take it from the inhabitants, we paid for the area of Hebron. We paid for the place where Jacob and Isaac and Abraham are buried. That was Jewish land. Everybody called it Judea. It's still called Judea. How can you say you're going to make a Palestinian state? The Arabs never were there. There are so many people living there. Yeah, I have you a question. How could there be genocide if you have 10 times the number of people living in those areas than they did in 1948 and 1967? You're accusing Israel of genocide, accusing Israel of war crimes. Look what you did in between 1939 and 1945, Britain. Did you allow Jews who escaped to come to your shores? Did you do anything about stopping the murder of Jews in Auschwitz by bombing not the place, bomb the railroads? That would have stopped the deaths of 10,000 Jews a day that were being murdered. But you didn't have not just the courage, you didn't have the will to save Jews, because you knew that if those Jews are alive, they're going to want to go to Israel. And you didn't want Jews in Israel. You were complicit, England, in the deaths of millions of people, millions of Jews and other people who were being murdered by the Nazis. And you, France, you cooperated with the Germans. 80% of the Jewish population was sent to Auschwitz with the help of the Vichy government. So we Jews are supposed to acquiesce and bow down to France and England and to Canada that comes from France and England. And Spain, which has its own history of murdering Jews and expelling Jews. The Inquisition started in Spain wonderful humanitarian inquisition that was brought to the world by Spanish clerics. We're supposed to become impressed from your attacks against us. Let me just tell you one thing. There is a rule in the Talmud that a Jew, a Jewish nation, should not start up with a Gentile, because we are subject to the Gentiles. We have no power. We had no military power. We had no economic power to sustain ourselves. So we were forbidden by the rabbis to start up with a Gentile nation. But there are rules about that. First rule is self-preservation. What Europe, what France and England and Spain and Canada are proposing is a death threat to the Jewish people. Hamas and the PA are exactly the same. The only difference is Hamas will try to kill Jews in 1 day, and the PA will do it in 2 days. That's the only difference. Mahmoud Abbas, Abu Mazen, as they call him. He got his PhD in Holocaust denial. His PhD was that Jews collaborated with the Nazis. Yeah, we collaborated with the people who murdered our people. That's his doctorate. Person who denies the Holocaust denies that Jews have a right to live, a right to exist, and therefore there's nothing to deny because Jews shouldn't be here to begin with. So we can't start up, we shouldn't start up with it, but we're not starting up with you. You're starting up with us. We're starting up with Jews and trying to force them to accept a situation that will be a death to the Jews. The PA has in its constitution the destruction of Israel. That's number one. Number two, they're radical Islamists that want to destroy and kill Jews all over the world. The people killed in Washington and attacked in Boulder, Colorado, it's not an unrelated incident. It comes from the teachings of Islam. Therefore, there cannot be an Islamic state on Jewish land. First of all, it's Jewish land, it's Judea and Samaria. By the way, Samaria was the capital of Shomron. That's where the 10 tribes lived. And Jews lived there continuously until recently. All these Arab countries had Jews there for thousands of years. Why are there so few Jews there now? The answer is they took away their money, they made it impossible for them to live, they had to leave, or they expelled them. There's almost no Jews in Iraq. The Iraqis tried to kill whoever was left, and they expelled most of them, or they had to leave. There's almost no Jews in Iran. Jews were in Iran for 2,500 years. Why are there almost no Jews there now? Because of their policies. There are no Jews in Egypt left. Why? They were expelled when Nasser lost the war. When Israel won in 48 and 56, they expelled the Jews. It's the Jews who live there. It's their fault that these guys are inept. Nasser was going to kill every single Jew living in Israel in 1967. That's what they were planning on. So the so-called two-state solution is a dream. It's a pipe dream. Let me tell you about a two-state solution. The two-state solution, North Vietnam and South Vietnam. Kissinger and Ho Chi Minh won a Nobel Prize for peace, for making peace with the communists in North Vietnam. How long did South Vietnam last? About a year. That's it. Every place where you have a hostile entity, you can't make peace with it. You know, when you pull out of Afghanistan, you're going to wind up with the Taliban. That's what you have now. You have the same Taliban, the same group of people that you fought against are now in control of Afghanistan because the moderates are not willing to put their lives on the line to protect democracy. And so the only people that win are the ones that are determined to kill everybody else and don't care if anybody dies, if their families die. That's the reality of the Arab world. There are no democracies in the Arab world. And the Arab world is brutal, and they'll be more brutal to Jews. This is not there's no two-state solution. Therefore, this is an existential threat against Israel. What is Israel supposed to do? Put their head on the chopping block because you want it? Because you want to look important? But let me tell you something. Europe is on the decline. There is not enough Europeans to populate Europe for the next century. They're not going to be able to support themselves. The only way for Europe to support themselves is importing Muslims, and they're going to become the majority of the nation. Germans, French, Dutch, they're all over. They're done. The only place that's going to remain ethnically a similar country as before is Hungary, because they don't let these people come in. Instead of changing the liberal left wokeism as the major culture, you're allowing elements that will destroy your culture entirely. London is Londonistan. Mayor of London is an Arab. It's a Muslim. France, 1 in 4 people, I think, or even if it's 10, 15%, it will soon be a majority. Writings on the wall. You don't have enough French kids to become French. That's the same thing with Scandinavia. Europe, you're finished, you're toast. You can have a big economy, you can have big plans, but there's no future for you guys. And so therefore there's nothing for Israel to be impressed by. You will recognize Palestine. Big deal. It won't change anything on the ground. Because this is Judea and Samaria. This belongs to the Jewish people, Yehuda and Shomron. It belongs to the Jewish people. It will forever belong to the Jewish people. And the fact that you're fighting against it, or you're going to go threaten that you're going to go ahead and send peacekeepers there, this has been prophesized. Go look at your own Bibles. It's translated into French, into German, and into English. Look at the prophets. Look at the prophecy of Zechariah. He predicts all the nations will come to attack Jerusalem, because Jerusalem is the capital of Israel, and that's where the Jewish temple is, and it's supposed to be there. But you want Jerusalem to be the capital of Palestine, so you're going to try to impose it on Israel. The prophet says this is going to happen. You know it's going to happen afterwards. You're going to have a terrible defeat. Why do you want to do this? Why? The answer is because you want to feel important. There are other ways of feeling important. Change wokeism. Encourage people to be responsible for themselves. Encourage entrepreneurship. Encourage people to take responsibility for their own actions. Get rid of all of this living together without marriage, which leads to nothing. You have to have people having families with children. Otherwise, the society will just break apart. You're on a spiral of destruction, self-destruction. There is no reason why Israel has to listen to you. They won't. Israel won't listen to you. I'm not an Israeli. I'm an Israeli. I don't have Israeli citizenship. But I'm just telling you, they won't. You're just on a self-destructing spiral. Instead of going with the winner. Israel is going higher and higher. Their economy is booming, despite the fact they're in a war that's gone on for almost 2 years. Despite that war, Israel's wealth is getting bigger. Israel's innovation is getting greater. Israel has come up with some of the most incredible innovations in wartime, which everybody's going to want to buy. Everybody wants to buy the Iron Dome system. Everybody wants to buy the Iron Beam system. Everybody wants to buy jets with the modification that Israel has put into it. Everybody wants Israel's rocketry that destroys missiles that are coming in from other places. So what are you going to do? You're going to attack Israel? Is that what you're going to do? I'm not going to say be my guest, but it's self-destruction. The prophecies of Zechariah, read them. You'll become completely destroyed. Why do that? Especially since there is nothing for you to gain. There is nothing for you to gain attacking Israel. Everything for you to gain helping Israel. And I hope you get some seichel, some sense before anything happens. But in the meantime, you can rest assured Israel won't be listening to you.